What if the most dangerous thing Samsung makes is not a phone, but the paper trail before the phone ever exists? That is the game of patenting. Before a product lands on a shelf, somebody is already trying to lock the idea down in legal language. And when Samsung does it, people pay attention, because this is not a tiny brand playing around. Samsung Electronics crossed $1.03 trillion in market value in 2026. Samsung C&T says it helped build Burj Khalifa. And Samsung Heavy Industries is one of the biggest shipbuilders in the world, with a track record that includes some of the world's largest vessels. So when Samsung patents something weird, it does not feel like a random sketch. It feels like a warning from the future. And before we go into the wild stuff, let us make patents simple. A patent is not the product. It is a legal right over a specific invention. Patents are territorial, so they only apply in the countries or regions where they are granted. And in the usual case, they last about 20 years from filing. In plain words, a patent is a fence around an idea, not a magic spell that owns the whole future forever. Another company can often still build something similar if it designs around the claims, licenses the invention, or waits for the patent to expire. Let's start with the display stuff, because that is where Samsung really began bending reality. One of the big ones is the foldable display apparatus. Samsung's patent says it is designed to reduce stress in the bending area of the panel, which is basically the whole secret behind making a screen fold without destroying itself. Another patent. Then Samsung pushed the idea even further with flexible display devices. That patent is interesting because the display is not just a visual panel. The flexible screen can interact with force sensors and piezoelectric parts, meaning the screen itself can help create tactile feedback or detect pressure. So now the display is not just showing content, it is becoming part of the machine's body. That is a very Samsung kind of move. Turn the screen into the entire experience, not just the window. And then comes the next jump. Rollable display device. This one is straight out of sci-fi. The patent describes a flexible display stored inside the body of the device and rolled out when needed, supported by a structure that helps keep the screen flat when it is extended. That is the core idea behind a phone that could be tiny in your pocket and then stretch into a bigger screen when you need it. It is one of the cleanest examples of Samsung patenting a product category before the market is ready for it. Samsung also kept filing around durability, because a futuristic screen is useless if it breaks in normal life. The flexible display cover patent focuses on reducing cracks and stress concentration on the glass layer, which sounds boring until you realize that durability is what makes futuristic devices real, instead of fragile demo pieces. Samsung also filed more advanced foldable structures with protective frames and layered supports, showing that the company was not only dreaming about bending screens, it was trying to make them survive the real world. Then Samsung left the phone world and started aiming at your face and your hand. One of the wildest patents is the smart contact lens for augmented reality. The patent describes a contact lens with a display unit in the center region and peripheral components around it, basically trying to place digital information directly in your field of view. That is not just a gadget. That is an attempt to shrink a screen down to the size of an eye. Samsung also filed around smart glasses and smart watches for real-time connectivity. The patent describes devices that can continuously capture audio, image, video, and location data, then connect across other smart devices. That is important because it shows the larger vision, not one super device, but an ecosystem where wearables, glasses, watches, and phones all talk to each other like a single system. Then we get to the ring. Samsung filed smart ring patent families that describe rings with LED displays, batteries, charging ports, motion detection, and identification signals. One Samsung smart ring design patent was filed in 2024 and assigned to Samsung Electronics, and Samsung's own newsroom says the Galaxy Ring became globally available on July 24, 2024. That matters because this is one of the best examples of Samsung's patent strategy actually becoming a product. The patent showed the direction first, and the launch came later. There is also a more technical side to the ring patents. Samsung filings describe rings that can use motion, sound, and reflected light to identify the ring or the user, and another ring concept uses a light source and photo detector to measure biometrics like oxygen saturation. So the ring is not just jewelry. It is turning into a health sensor, an input device, and a tiny interface for the body. That is why the smart ring idea is such a strong example of Samsung patenting the future in small, almost invisible ways. Now the big question: what does this mean for other companies like Apple? It does not mean Samsung owns every foldable, rollable, ring-shaped, or lens-based idea on Earth. It means Samsung owns the specific claims in the patents it has filed and won in the countries where those patents are active. If another company wants to build something similar, it usually has three choices: design around the claims, license the patent, or wait for it to expire. That is the real game. Patents do not own the whole future. They own the legal shape of one version of it. Another Samsung patent goes even stranger, the flying display device. In the patent, the screen sits on a quadcopter with 4 propellers, so it can hover, move, and tilt to keep itself in the user's line of sight. Patent reporting on the filing says the system can track a person's face, pupils, hands, fingers, and gestures, with extra features like voice recognition, obstacle detection, and motion sensors. It sounds insane, but the idea is simple. The screen follows you instead of waiting on a table. Then Samsung turns the future transparent. Samsung has multiple patents around transparent displays, including a display apparatus that controls transparency and rendering state in different areas, and display modules that use transparent panels. Those filings describe displays where parts of the screen can be see-through while still showing graphics on top, which is why transparent phone concepts keep showing up in Samsung-style renders and concept posts. When Samsung files these crazy ideas, it is not only dreaming, it is putting legal fences around the future before the future becomes a product.